Locho sampo pagyo trashi pa tuche tempe trinle yarngoda pege drolor zampe tse parche palden lame shabla solvade Omo a Guru Vajradhara Suma Timo Nishasane Kar Uta Vardanya Shri Bar Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om a Guru Vajradhara Uta Vardanya Shri Bar Varsa Manya Sarva Om Guru Vajradhara Sumatimo Nishasane Kar Uta Vardanya Shri Bar Vasa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Uta Vardanya Shri Bar Vasa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumatimo Nishasane Kar Uta Vardanya Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradhara Sumatimo Nishasane Kar Uta Vardanya Shri Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Pakyuke Kodan Dagi Lo Pakyuke Sundan Dagi Nga Pakyuke Todan Dagi Yi Tenyerme Chikto Jingi Lo Makyuke Kodan Dagi Sundan Dagi Nga Makyuke Todan Dagi Yi Tenyerme Chikto Jingelo Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakya Munye Soha Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakya Munye Soha Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Munye Soha. Sangye chedan soge chanam la chancho pardo dani kyapsuch dagi jinso gives druparish Sangye chedan soge chanam la chancho pardo dani kyapsuch Dagi jinso gibe sonam gi drola pinchira sangye chedan tsoge chonam la Dagi jinso gibe sonam drola pinchira sangye druparasho. In the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, I take refuge until enlightenment. Through the practice of generosity and the other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. One of the special qualities of the practice of self-healing is that once we understand the practice of self-healing well, then we can understand most of the practices of sadhanas and of Tantra. It's like once we understand the structure and we get to the meaning, we get a little bit more familiarized with the meaning of the 5 Dhyani Buddhas and the process of generation stage, completion stage. If we understand well the practice of self-healing, it opens the door to many, many other practices. It's like Rinpoche says that Borobudur is the ocean of mandalas. And in Albagnano, he made us be prepared. The center mandala is the mandala of Borobudur, then around 108 mandalas which are emanating from Borobudur mandala. No? And actually, from my perspective, the meaning of that is also that any practice that we may look, okay, it doesn't matter if we're talking about Heruka, Guya Samaja, Yamantak, any one of the meditation practices in the Anuttara Yoga Tantra, in the Vajrayana path, they are based on the 5 Dhyani Buddhas. All of them. And it's very interesting because all of them talk about the 5 Dhyani Buddhas, but self-healing is the only sadhana that I know that is emphasized specifically on the 5 Dhyani Buddhas. If we look, for example, Guya Samaja, it is actually the 5 Dhyani Buddhas plus the Mudras, plus the Bodhisattvas, and sense deities is like more extensive. It's like an extensive version of self-healing somehow. But very often, in many, many sadhanas, the 5 Dhyani Buddhas are always there, but somehow, how to say, I have the sensation that sometimes there is the tendency of losing focus and forgetting that the bases are the 5 Dhyani Buddhas. So why the bases are the 5 Dhyani Buddhas? Because the whole path of Vajrayana, all the sadhanas and so on, are based on the resources that we have right now. It's always basis, path, and result. And on the basis, what do we have to reach enlightenment? Body and mind. And our body and mind, Buddha described it within 5 aggregates, which are the aggregate of form, which is our body, in a gross, subtle, and very subtle level. Then we have the aggregate of sensation, which are our sensations of pleasure, suffering, and indifference. Then we have the aggregate of discernment, which is the ability of our mind to discern between things. This is this, that is that, I like, I don't like, even to understand one thing from another. Then we have the aggregate of compositional factors, which, to make it simple, let's say it's our personality. And then there is the aggregate of consciousness, which is our mental continuum in a gross, subtle, and very subtle level also. Okay? So basically what happened is that we have these 5 aggregates. And this is the basis of our self. When we ask, what am I made of? Normally we would say what? Body and mind. No? Some people would say body, mind, and spirit. In Buddhism, the concept of spirit, I don't know what we mean it normally in our culture really, but normally we have the very subtle mind. The mind itself already has many levels. But basically we are made of body and mind. The difference is that Buddha, he put some emphasis that the mind was divided into 4 parts, which is sensation, discernment, composition of factors, and consciousness. Consciousness is the mind. Composition of factors, we could say, are the aspects of the mind. Okay? Normally, we call it mental factors. We call it Sosem and Simchung in Tibetan. Simchung is mental factors, which goes together. They are not 2 separate things. The mental factors are aspects of the consciousness, aspects of the mind. Okay? And normally, we have 51 mental factors. And actually, there can be more than 51, I believe. But the way how they are normally, the ones most well known and described are 51. And these are aspects of the mind, like sensation, intention, effort, attachment, fear, many of these are all mental factors. They're aspects of our mind, that they compose the mind together. Okay? And actually, if we would just say body and mind, it's enough. But to make more clear what is the mind, there is mind, consciousness, and then there is mental factors, which is compositional factors, which is the aspect that compose the mind. Sensation and discernment are actually part of the compositional factors, are themselves compositional factors. So it would not be necessary to make 5 aggregates. If we would say 3 would be enough. Because I have the body, the mind. Actually, I could say only 2, body and mind. But if I make longer, more details, I can say body, mind. The mind is made by consciousness and the mental factors, which are the aspects of the mind. Because sensation and discernment both are mental factors themselves. So why do we need to put them separately? Okay, why we have 5 aggregates described and not 3? The reason in the Abhidharma Kosha text, which is one of the teachings of Buddha, where it describes all the mind and its functions and so on, it says that the reason why Buddha made this effort, let's say, put this emphasis on sensation and discernment, is because these are 2 main mental factors that guide our lives. And most of the conflicts that we experience comes out of attachment for sensation and attachment for discernment. If we look, many of the things that we do in our life, we do why? Because we are attached to what? To the sensation of pleasure. So we try to avoid the sensation of suffering. We try to gain the sensation of pleasure. And how many things we do because of that? Because of attachment to sensation. 80% of what we do? I don't know, but many things. Depends on the life of each one. Then there is many things that we do because attachment to the discernment of what I think. I think is right, I think is wrong, I think is good, I think is bad. The I think is our discernment. And it is said that the people that are more intellectually developed, and sometimes spiritually developed also, normally they have less attachment to the sensation. And this also happens in places where material development is very strong. What happens is that people don't need to discuss anymore and fight because of sensation, because each one of them, they already have their own pleasures. But then what they discuss and fight for? Discernment. I think it's right, I think it's wrong, this is the right view, that is the wrong view, because of here, because of there. But still, if we look, most of the things in this world is moved not by discernment, but is moved by attachment to sensation. Most of it. We are still very low, very gross level. All the money is connected to sensation. Recognition of power is connected to sensation. Pleasures are connected to sensation. If we see, where most of the time people put energy is on sensation. Then when people get a little bit so-called evolved somehow, then what happens is that, okay, sensation is not that much important, but then comes the attachment to discernment. We can have even people that are living in caves and completely, in the West also we have scholars and people that are maybe scientists, or people that are really, their life is, they don't care much about material things, but it's mainly about what studying and understanding, but sometimes become very attached to their own views. And they can have terrible discussions and conflicts because of this. Okay? So this is the second point of attachment that creates the conflicts. There are many, many conflicts in this world which were created because of the attachment to discernment. Okay? So in our life, these are actually 2 very fundamental aspects. Sensation and discernment. Discernment is the aspect of our mind in which we say this is a singing bowl, this is a cup, this is a flower, this is good, that is bad, this is beautiful, that is ugly. Our judgment for what's the best religion, what is right and what is wrong, our judgment because of what's the correct political view or whatever else. This is all based on discernment. And we're very attached to our own view normally. Okay? That's why we have these two separated. Okay, so these are the 5 aggregates. We have the body, aggregate of form. Then we have the aggregate of sensation, aggregate of discernment. Sometimes it's called the aggregate of discrimination. But I don't like that much that word because we can have another type of understanding, which is, okay, the discrimination, like, okay, we end up like to make discrimination of a person or something like that. I prefer the word discernment, which is really we need to discern what is right and wrong and good or bad and this and that and so on. Then we have the aggregate of composition of factors, which are all the other aspects of our mind. Like we have intention, there is contact, then there is faith, there is attachment, there is anger. There's so many aspects actually, okay? And then there is consciousness, which we have basically 6 types of consciousness, which is the mental part of the gross mind. In the gross mind, we have the mind consciousness, the eye consciousness, the ear consciousness, the nose consciousness, the tongue consciousness, and the skin consciousness. So we have the consciousness that perceives form, the consciousness that perceives sound, the consciousness that perceives taste, the consciousness that perceives smell, the consciousness that perceives touch, and the consciousness that perceives mental images, which is the mind. Okay? So these 6 types of minds, each one of them are always going together with mental factors also. So then there is sensation, then there is discernment, and so on. Okay? So this is the basis of which we are made. If we go to look, for example, in the Heart Sutra, what is it talking about? 5 aggregates. Also, the 5 aggregates are also empty of inherent existence. This is like inside the Heart Sutra. So, in the part of the sutra, the 5 aggregates are very, very important. If we go to Theravada tradition, there's many meditations about the 5 aggregates. Okay? So it's very important because that's the basis of our self. That's what we are made of. It's like, for example, if I take, for instance, one book, no? And I say, which are the parts that compose the book? The cover, the pages, the content, the words, the chapters, the ink, the glue that put it together. We can go on and divide into many parts, but making it very simple would say what makes the book is the cover and the pages and the words and chapters, okay? Making it simple. So what happens is that if I want to understand well the book, I need to understand the parts that makes the book. Okay? So I'm going to see well how the cover is made. I'm going to see well how are the pages. I'm going to read the words, understand the chapters. Okay? Similar to that, which are the parts that compose the self, that compose us? Body and mind. In other words, the 5 aggregates. Okay? So in order for us to understand the book, we need to understand the parts that compose the book, to see what's the potential that is in the book, to see what is the qualities that is in it. We need to go through the parts. Similar, when we talk about ourselves, we need to go also to see the parts that compose ourselves. And we are composed by what are called the 5 aggregates and also what are called the 5 wisdoms. Okay? 5 wisdoms are 5 aspects of our mind. Very important aspects of our mind, indispensable aspects, which are always present. The 5 aspects of our mind, the 5 so-called 5 wisdoms, are the following. We have the all-realizing wisdom, the wisdom of equanimity, the Dharma Dhatu wisdom, the wisdom of discernment, and the mirror-like wisdom, okay? So these 5 wisdoms, they have the wisdom of the basis, and then there is the wisdom of result, the resultant wisdom. When we talk on the basis, they are called wisdom because they are as aspects of our mind, but now they are a little ignorant. They're not that much wisdom. But it's like in Tibetan philosophy very often, we have a way which is said, Dremin Gyula Takpa, which means to give the name of the result to the cause. Let's say someone is a student of medicine, I call him doctor. He's not yet a doctor, but because he will become one, I call him. I go to you and I call you Buddha, because that's what you're going to become. So I take the name of the result into the cause. And then there is also the opposite. Very often we have the opposite also. We give to the result the name of the cause. Okay? There are some situations like this. So in this case specifically, here, we call 5 wisdoms because we're giving the name of the result to the cause. On the basis, they are not exactly wisdoms because they still need to develop a lot of aspects, but that's the name that is being given, okay? So we have the 5 wisdoms of the basis and the 5 wisdoms of result. Let's see the 5 wisdoms of the basis, because that's what we have, okay? So we saw the 5 aggregates is basically what we are made of. And together, when we talk about the mind, putting emphasis into the mind, we have the 5 wisdoms. The 5 wisdoms are the following. We start, to make it more simple to understand, we start with the wisdom of equanimity. The wisdom of equanimity is the aspect, okay, we can start with the wisdom of the all-realizing wisdom. That's okay also. The all-realizing wisdom, because that's Amoga Siddhi, so we start from sacred chakra. Okay? The all-realizing wisdom is the ability of our mind that is constantly present to know what we want to do. It's a part of our mind that says, I want to do this, I don't want to do that, stand up, sit down, eat, sleep, go here, go there. Even when we say, I don't know what to do, when we have doubts. But it's the same aspect of the mind that is directing ourselves to do something. Okay? Even when we say, I don't want to do anything, we are still directing ourselves to do what? Nothing. Okay? Not doing anything is already doing something, which is not so comforting, because it's like not taking a decision is a decision that we are taking. Thinking that I'm not doing anything, I'm doing something anyhow. So it's this aspect of the mind, the all-realizing wisdom, is the part of the mind that is always saying, I want to do this, I don't want to do that. It's the mind directing ourselves into action. Okay? And it's always present when we are awake and also when we are asleep, in our dreams and so on. Okay? So at this moment, our all-realizing wisdom is the wisdom that don't realize so much, because we have many doubts and not much certainty and so on. As we develop it, the all-realizing wisdom of a Buddha that is manifested in the form of Buddha Amoga Siddhi is the mind that have no doubt, that have certainty in every action. Okay? But it's the same aspect that we have right now, just need to develop it. Then we have the wisdom of equanimity. The wisdom of equanimity is the ability of our mind to understand the similarities between things. For example, I can look at all of these objects and I say they are all beautiful flowers. Okay? Are they different? Yes, but they are same as flowers. So the ability to see the similarities between things and to put them into one same category, that's called the wisdom of equanimity. It's very important for us. If we didn't have this ability, we would live in a total chaos. Okay? I look at all of you and I say, oh, they're all human beings. I'm using the wisdom of equanimity. Okay? As we develop more and more the wisdom of equanimity, we are able to see that everyone suffers, everyone wishes to be happy. We make no more difference between people, no more difference between phenomena that are impermanent, no more difference between phenomena that are empty of inherent existence. We're able to see the similarities and the connections between each and everything. Okay? Then we jump the wisdom of Akshobhya, we go to the wisdom of Amitabha. That is the this wisdom of the discerning wisdom, or Sosor Tokpe Yeshe, the wisdom that understands or realizes each and everything. Which means it's the mind that knows how to discern one thing from the other. I look at the flowers and I say they are all flowers, wisdom of equanimity. One is white, the other yellow, the other is yellow, the other is red. Oh, these are all white flowers, wisdom of equanimity. One is a little bit bigger, the other is a little bit smaller, wisdom of discernment. Our ability to see the differences between parts and phenomena is the wisdom of discernment. And it's also very important, this. And the two goes together. At the same time we're able to put things together, we're also able to see the specific aspects of each one, to divide them. Okay? Now, we have a certain level of ability of discernment. We can develop this. Okay? Then there is the mirror-like wisdom. The mirror-like wisdom is the ability of the mind, like in a mirror. If I put a mirror here, I'm not seeing what is in it, but I think many things can be reflected in the mirror, right? Many people, if I go far away and I do like this, I can have a whole house being reflected inside a mirror, and a whole mountain, and so on. And many people can be reflected inside a mirror. Similar to that the mirror has the ability to reflect many things at the same time, our mind has the ability to perceive and reflect many things at the same time. Okay? Our mirror can be dirty or can be clean. It depends. The more we are able to perceive things, the more clean our mirror-like wisdom is. So one time I heard something, I don't know how much correct or not it is, but it made me reflect, saying that in every second, our human brain receives 2 billion informations, okay, which concern everything around us of our 5 senses. Of these 2 billion informations, we are only aware of 2,000. If the numbers are different, it doesn't make much difference. To develop the mirror-like wisdom means to be able to be aware more and more of all the information we receive. Okay? It's like at this very right moment, our heart is beating, right? I hope so. And can we feel our heart beating? Can we feel the sensation of touch of our heart beating? If we stop and concentrate, yes. Otherwise, I believe for most of us, no, right? But why? Because our attention is somewhere else. So the sensation is there, the information is there, but we are not able to perceive it because we don't have the attention in it right now. So similar to that, there are so many informations that we receive constantly, and we are simply not aware of it. Okay? This doesn't mean that we are not receiving these informations. So the mirror-like wisdom is our ability to be aware of many phenomena at the same time. One of the qualities of a Buddha, it's said that the 5 wisdoms are fully developed. So when the mirror-like wisdom is fully developed, it's the ability to be perfectly aware of each and every information that is around you and all the time, which is quite overwhelming. But this is one of the qualities when we talk about the mind of a Buddha. The 5th wisdom, which is the Dharma Dhatu wisdom. Dharma Dhatu in Tibetan is said Chö Gi Yin. Chö means phenomenon, Yin means space. It means nature also. So it means the Dharma Dhatu wisdom is different of the others because the others are aspects of the mind. The Dharma Dhatu wisdom is the actual mind. The Dharma Dhatu wisdom of the basis is the mind with mental defilements. The Dharma Dhatu wisdom of result is the mind free of mental defilements. Okay? So the actual mind, that it is by itself interdependent, by itself it doesn't exist as an ignorant, inherently existing mind. So the mind itself, it can exist with mental defilements like ignorance, attachment, and so on, or without. So the mind with the defilements is the Dharma Dhatu wisdom of the basis. The mind without the defilements is the Dharma Dhatu wisdom of the result. Okay? So again, we We have 5 aggregates: the aggregate of form, the aggregate of sensation, the aggregate of discrimination or discernment, the aggregate of composition of factors, and the aggregate of consciousness. Then we have 5 wisdoms: the wisdom of all-realizing wisdom, the wisdom of equanimity, the wisdom of discernment, the mirror-like wisdom, and the wisdom of the Dharmadhatu wisdom. Okay? These are all aspects that we all have. Every one of us here have the 5 wisdoms and the 5 aggregates. Okay? So, what we do in the Vajrayana path, what we do in self-healing, is to develop these 5 wisdoms, to develop these 5 aggregates. And that's what we reach enlightenment. Please.
If I understood. For instance, in the wisdom character aspect,
Mm-hmm.
is because we cannot have an equal intake of all information that arriving to us. We select a certain number, right? So we get through this process of selection a different perception of reality.
Mm-hmm.
And so we can say that when the wisdom is not fully developed, this insufficient wisdom is the one that is able to induce us to have bad perception of the reality, of interpretation of the reality that can differentiate me from another person.
I think our perception of reality, it's mixed with many different aspects. One of them is the mirror-like wisdom. At the same time, we have a different discernment. We have a different sensation. There are many aspects which are different by the way how we experience reality. No? But what happens is that in the moment that a person reaches enlightenment, this is one debate that we can go on for a long time, but the question is, if we put 2 Buddhas together, is their experience the same? Because it's said that the 2 Buddhas, they are of the same nature, because they have the same qualities developed fully, they have the same known the mental defilements in the same way, but each one of them, they keep their own individuality. We don't like, when 2 people reach enlightenment, they don't melt into one. Okay? But in the moment that the qualities are the same, and in the moment that I'm able to perceive everything that is there, what difference is there between my perception and your perception if both of us have the same way? Okay? It's subtle. It's not, I don't have the right answer right now. It's something, from all the things I have studied up to now, Buddhist philosophy, the most difficult thing for me is the part where it talks about how a Buddha experiences reality. That's the most difficult thing at all, because I'm not a Buddha, so how can I know really, no? So we try to understand, and it's overwhelming in the mind, many things. But this is, the mirror-like wisdom is one of the forms what we call of omniscience, of knowing all. Because in the moment that we have the total perception of everything that is around us and everything that arrives, one thing is connected with the other. So it means like, another way of explaining is that a Buddha is able to see each and everything in all its possibilities in the same time. We with our mirror-like wisdom, what we do, we choose one possibility. The moment that I make my choice, I choose one possibility how this is existing for me. They said that a Buddha can see at the same instant, can perceive everything in all its possible existence, in all the possibilities. I don't know how, it's very difficult to make it fit in my mind at least. But this is the idea that means being able to perceive everything, because there are many things that for us may look contradictory and we are not able to put everything together in our mind. But when we are able to perceive everything together, this is overcome. No? But I think the mirror-like wisdom is sure the aspect of mind that how to say, makes us to grab at reality in a way. Because, as you were saying, we choose aspects of reality aspects of appearance, no? Things that appear to us. We choose which one we want to connect to. So if we choose differently, we see differently from different sides. So this is one of the parts. But together with that, we have the discernment. And then it depends also on our senses, because our perception of reality is also very much connected to our senses, and we have different senses, so we perceive things in a different way. I think it's a collection of many aspects together, but the mirror-like wisdom is a very important one. So the important thing for us to understand here, why we are talking about all of this in Wheel of Self-Healing. Because the 5 Dhyani Buddhas, what are they? They are the embodiment, the manifestation in a physical form of the 5 aggregates and the 5 wisdoms in a pure state. That's what they represent. And what are we made of? 5 aggregates and 5 wisdoms. That's what we are made of. So when we see the 5 Dhyani Buddhas, Buddha Vajrayana is the aggregate of form and the mirror-like wisdom. Amitabha is the aggregate of discrimination or discernment and the wisdom of discernment. Akshobhya is the aggregate of consciousness and the Dharma Dhatu wisdom. Ratnasambhava is the aggregate of sensation and the wisdom of equanimity. Amoghasiddhi is the aggregate of composition of factors and the all-realizing wisdom. Okay? So, when we see the 5 Dhyani Buddhas, what they represent, what is being shown to us, our own qualities developed at their maximum potential. That's what we can do. That's what we can develop. And because we are made of 5 aggregates, the basis of the Tantra are the 5 Dhyani Buddhas. Because that's the basis of our own existence. So any practice we will look in the Vajrayana path, it doesn't matter which Tantra we are talking about. It's always based on the 5 Dhyani Buddhas. Always. So what Rinpoche did with self-healing was go to the essence. Make it clear to us. Because many, many people, from what I have seen at least, have the idea, okay, many practices, okay, there is Tara, there is Guya Samaja, there is Vajrayogini, here and there, but very often forget that the bases are the 5 Dhyani Buddhas. It's very common, this, I think. So in self-healing is really going to the essence, the roots of Tantra, okay? So here, once we understand the practice of self-healing and the meaning of the 5 Dhyani Buddhas, this opens so many doors. And all the different mandalas, all the different practices, they're all, let's say, an emanation, like, of the 5 Dhyani Buddhas. That's why the emanation of Borobudur. They come from there. Okay? So, now, we are made of the 5 aggregates. And we need to generate ourselves in a pure identity. And to do that, we first need to purify and generate our 5 aggregates in a pure form. It's like if I want to say, oh, I want to have a good book. In order to have a good book, what do I need? A good cover, good pages, good words, good chapters. Then I can have a good book. Okay? Similar to that, in order to have a pure self, we need to have first the 5 aggregates pure. And that's what we will do in self-healing. Okay? So, after doing the preliminaries, we started the practice we did. Preparation of the preliminaries, preparation of the place, preparation of the altar, the offerings, sitting in the correct position, preparation of the mind with breathing meditation. And after that, we did the preliminaries, taking refuge, generating the bodhicitta, generating the correct motivation, generating ourselves as the deity, purifying the environment, transforming the offerings, inviting the merit field. After that, we did doing the 7 limp prayers. After the 7 limp prayers, we did requesting the blessings. And then we did the blessings of requesting the blessings of the lineage, the practice of Guru Yoga, relative purification, Ayam Ram Lambam, absolute purification, Om Sobhava Shuddha, Sarva Dharma Sobhava Shuddha. 3 transformations. Transforming death into the Dharmakaya, birth into the Sambhogakaya, rebirth into the Nirmanakaya. So everything dissolves into light, an infinite emptiness full of light, empty of inherent existence, inseparable of great bliss, and I am such union of great bliss and emptiness. From that state, we appear as a source of light with a subtle body, through which we help all sentient beings. We make offering to all holy beings. The lights reabsorb back into us, and then we appear with a gross body in order to be of more benefit for others. Okay? So that's the point of the practice where we are. Okay? So there are two parts, there are 2 ways how we can actually add the 2 moments of the practice where the 3 transformations can be done. One way of explaining is that the 3 transformations and absolute purification is done before the lineage blessing, requesting the blessings of the lineage. And another way is to do it after the relative purification of the elements. Personally, I prefer much more to do after the purification of the elements. It fits much better. Okay? But this doesn't mean that the other way is wrong. So when we do together, it has a special connection also. Why? Because when I do the purification of the elements, the meaning of it, as we saw yesterday, is that the winds go inside the central channel. This makes the inner fire to go up. As the fire goes up, it hits the earth, that hits the water, that goes to the crown, it melts the white bodhicitta, and it comes down in the form of a rain of nectar. And this bodhicitta, which is a sensation of bliss, fills up the whole body, going to every single small part of the body. Okay? So this is when we do the purification. So as a result of the purification of the elements, we experience a sensation of bliss. With the bliss, we intend to realize emptiness, to realize the nature of phenomenon. After that, what we do absolute purification, in which we put the emphasis in the meditation of the lack of inherent existence, the true nature of phenomena. But we do that with the mind of bliss that has come from the purification of the elements. So when we conclude the part of the purification of the elements, there is this great sensation of bliss, which is the stronger part at that moment. Then with that sensation of bliss, Om Sobhava Shuddha Sarva Dharma Sobhava Shuddha. So this bliss realizes the lack of inherent existence. When we say that the bliss realizes emptiness, it's like let's say, I can think about impermanence, okay? Or we make even a much more simple example. I look at the flowers. We can all perceive the flowers, right? We can look and we can see the flowers with happiness, with sadness, with different emotions, right? Similar to that, I can perceive emptiness in different ways. So in this case, what's the mind that is perceiving emptiness? Bliss. So it's with that state of great bliss after the purification of the elements that I will meditate on the lack of inherent existence of all phenomena, and then simulate the process of death, meditate on Dharmakaya, then simulate the process of Bardo, Sambhogakaya, simulate the process of rebirth, Nirmanakaya. Okay? So finally, in this moment of the practice, after the purification of the elements, we do absolute purification and the 3 transformations. So we find ourselves, as we visualize ourselves with a pure body made out of light, as Vajrasattva, or as one of the 5 Dhyani Buddhas, or we can also visualize ourselves as one of the 5 great mothers also. And then at that point, we will start what is called the generation of the body mandala. When we do the generation of the body mandala, what we will do is that we will take the potential that we have within ourselves and develop it. So what we will do is that first we generate the container, the right environment for this potential to develop. So we do that by making the generation of the lotuses. So the first thing that we do is we generate in each one of our 5 chakras, we generate a lotus flower. The lotus flower It is symbolizing purity, because the lotus is born in a dirty place, but the lotus itself is very pure. One other special quality of the lotus also is that the lotus flower is one lotus seed, for example, the seed of the lotus before the lotus is born, is one of the most strong seeds that exist. It can last for thousands of years without ripening. Until we don't meet the perfect conditions, it will not come. So whenever we see a lotus flower, it means the perfect conditions were there. And it can stay in the water for a very, very, very long time. So the lotus flower only is born when perfect conditions are there. Okay? So it means like also our potential that is there, it can stay there for a very, very long time. It will never end. In the moment that we create the right conditions, it will ripen. Okay? So the lotuses, in another way also, it represents, because when we see a lotus flower, the petals are perfectly aligned. So this also symbolizes our subtle channels of energy being perfectly aligned also. Okay? So when we do the generation of the lotus, we visualize at our secret chakra a green lotus with 32 petals. The number of petals is equals the number of channels of every chakra. Okay? So when we visualize the lotuses, they are inside the central channel, and the petals are the other channels that are going to the other directions. It's like if, let's say, this is the central channel, and then I have the different channels going, and the lotus is inside, and the petals are actually the channels going. Okay? Because sometimes we may visualize the central channel very small, and then we put a very big lotus. Okay? So basically, if this is the central channel, the lotus will have the center of the lotus will have more or less the same size of the central channel, and then on the sides there will be the petals exactly where the channels are going out. Okay? There are some practices, like the practice of Tarachitamani, where we do not visualize lotuses, we just visualize the channels. Okay? The lotus is a way to help us also to visualize the channels. There are different meanings, but one of them is that, is to help us to visualize the channels in a balanced way. We do the mantra Pam Lepema Jangu, Pam Lepema Serpo, Pam Lepema Ngompo, Pam Lepema Marpo, Pam Lepema Karpo. Okay? As we do this, it means Pam is the sixth syllable of lotus. The lotus in Sanskrit is Padma. So the first part of the name Padma is Pa, with the tigle, which is the dot, which makes the sound ma, it becomes Pam. So mostly the six syllables are most of the times are the first part of the name with a dot, which makes the sound of ma. Okay? So that's why we say Pam, because the word Padma. So we have the first part of Padma, which is Pa, with the tigle, which represents like the essence, becomes Pam. The sixth syllable, sid, it means something small that has the whole potential of something big. When we put, for example, the seed of a tree, no, when we take the seed of an apple, inside that seed, is the whole potential of a tree inside or not? Yes. So that's one of the meaning when we talk about a seed syllable. It means something small, but that has within it the whole potential of something much bigger. If it's given the right conditions, it will develop. It's called a syllable. Syllable means a sound. Sometimes it's translated as sid letter. That's a wrong translation because it's a syllable. Syllable, it's a sound, okay? Sound. No? So when we have Pam, it's the sound, and at the same time when we talk the syllable is a sound, sound is vibration. Vibration is energy. So it's the essence of the energy of the lotus. Pam. Okay? So when we say Pam le pema jango, from Pam arises a lotus, green in color. Django means green, Pema means lotus, Pam is the sixth syllable, Le means from. Okay? So Pam, Le, Pema, Django. From Pam arises, or from Pam, if we do literal translation, it will be Pam, from lotus green. Okay? Which, if we make a more comprehensive translation, it will be from Pam arises a green lotus. Okay? So when we visualize it, the Pam is not the letter. We don't visualize necessarily the letter, Pam in Tibetan. We visualize this vibration with the sound of Pam. It's this energy that vibrates with the sound of Pam. And this energy that vibrates with the sound of Pam creates the lotus. Okay? The lotus on the secret chakra has 32 petals and it's green. The lotus in the navel has 64 petals and is yellow. The lotus in the heart has 8 petals and is blue. The lotus in the throat has 16 petals and it's red. The lotus in the crown has 32 petals and is white. When we do this, we do the mudra, which is called, in Tibetan we say, Pegor Nguntu Drowe Chingdrul Gichagya. It's the mudra of liberation anticipated by the mudra of turning the lotus. Which means this is the mudra of turning the lotus. Okay? It's called Pegor Gichagya. We do it, for example, also when we do offerings. Then very often this mudra is done. When you do this mudra, normally some people, they do like this. It's like the bases of the hand, the fist, they're not touching each other, but they are parallel to each other. Okay? Another thing is when we do mudras, we do them near to us. And in the place of the chakra, no? Because sometimes we may be doing the mudras a little bit more expensive, in a more expensive ways, though. Normally the mudra is at the height of our chakra, and we try to keep the pulse parallel, okay? The wrist parallel. Normally the hand that is under, it's open, the fingers. The hand that is above, the fingers are closing. Okay? So this is the mudra of the lotus, turning the lotus. After the mudra of the turning the lotus, we make the mudra of liberation. In Tibetan it's called Chingdrul Gichagya. Ching means to bind, to tight something. Trol means to liberate. So Chingwa Dang Trol. This mudra is done in a special practice which is called Janchuk, which is a practice done to help people at the moment of death. And in this practice there is this mudra. Okay, so what we do the lotus turning mudra, and then we conclude it with the mudra of liberation. When we do this mudra, we are supposed it's not obligatory, but it's good if we do there is a pop. Okay? No? So when we do like this, and then, okay, what does this mean, this pop? It's like, because as we are doing the mudra, we imagine that our channels, it's like if we gently are taking the channels and putting them in the right position so that the energy can flow correctly. Okay? And then when they open, it's finally the energy can flow. It's like when something is blocked and suddenly it's liberated, it makes some sound, no? Okay? So this is the pop that we do. It means something that is blocked, our energy is blocked in our channels. And then when we do the lotus, and then it opens. Okay? It's more easy to do this when we do in the lower chakras. It's a little bit more difficult, but it's possible. But don't fix your mind in doing the pop, okay? And then forget about the rest. So then slowly it goes, but like we don't need, otherwise we get fixed that we need to do in this way and then we forget about the rest. So the mudra is the lotus turning mudra with the mudra of liberation. Okay? So when we do this mudra of liberation, we imagine that a lotus flower opens and the energy can flow perfectly within our channels, from one side to the other. Okay? Generating the lotus, it's also important because it means creating the right environment. It's like if we need to plant a seed, first we need to prepare the earth. If we need to give life in a mother's womb, first the mother's womb needs to be healthy. Okay? So it's like preparing first the environment in order to develop the qualities that we want to develop. So before we access our potential, we need first to create the right conditions. So this is when we generate the lotus, and then we can recite 1 time or 5 times normally. If we do retreat, we can do like 1,000 times each one of them, or more even. So we are visualizing the lotus is in each one of our chakras. Remember, once again, the lotus is inside the central channel. Okay? Okay. So we do it, when we do normally the mantra 5 times, on the first 3 times we just turn the lotus, and on the last 2 times we do the mudra of liberation. Okay? When we do only 1 time, then we do directly the mudra of liberation. Okay? So we do Pam Le Pema Jangu. From Pam arises a lotus green in color. Pam Le Pema Serpo. Serpo means yellow. From Pam arises a yellow lotus. Pam Le Pema Ngompo. Ngompo means blue. From Pam arises a blue lotus. Pam Le Pema Marpo. From Pam arises a red lotus. Pam Le Pema Carpo. Carpo means white. From Pam arises a white lotus. Okay? So, this is the mudra that we do, what we recite, the meaning of the mantra, and the visualization. So we visualize the lotuses, and the meaning of it is also that, as we just said, we are preparing the right container. And it's very important for us to imagine that the channels get aligned and that our energy can flow naturally. Okay? One important thing of this is that, as we explained yesterday, I think, mind and wind goes always together. So, how do I direct my energy to one place? With the mind. So in the moment that I visualize the wind going somewhere, when I am actually directing my energy there. No? Even Rinpoche used to make an example with this. He said, when we go to the toilet, we concentrate where we put the energy, no? We think of but we put the energy downwards. We think, we direct our energy there. We direct our mind. No? If I need to move part of my body, I need to think there. My mind goes there, and then my body follows. Okay? So in the moment that I visualize that my channels are perfectly aligned, I am putting the energy for the channels to become perfectly aligned. I am directing the wind. I'm directing the energy in that way. Okay? So we visualize our channels perfectly aligned. And this is what we call the chakras. The word chakra in Tibetan is said korlo. Korlo means wheel. It's like a wheel. Imagine like the wheel of a bicycle. And you have all the spokes that arrive. And then there is a nucleus in the center where they meet. Similar to that, this is like a wheel. So similar to that, the chakra is like a wheel. The first one have 32 spokes, 64 spokes, 8 spokes, 16 spokes, and 32 spokes. Okay, and we visualize the form of a lotus. Okay? Well, after that, having generating the lotus, we will do the next part, which is generating the sit syllable. Yeah?
The channels don't stop. How are they interconnected?
I think,
Maybe it's too far.
no, I think the channels, all the channels, it's said to start from the heart. Okay? And they interconnect in the places of our 5 chakras. And after that, there are 72,000 channels, basically. So we have 72 main channels, and they go through the whole body. They are actually developing through our whole body. They're connected through the whole body. So I don't know exactly to say, okay, from where, how they go, and so on. I think not so long ago, I took some drawing and even some pictures of the nervous system, and I showed to Lama Ganchen. No? And Rinpoche looked at it, and he said, oh, yes, that's very much like what the subtle channels are supposed to be. No? So I think nowadays, maybe one of the easiest ways that we can think about how the channels are developing through the body is looking at anatomy of our nervous system, how it is developing, and so on. No? So I have no idea at all from the point of view of medicine and how it's working the nervous system and so on, but I think there is a connection also, like the last part when we die, where it's all absorbing. And according to Buddhism, everything absorbs inside the so-called central channel, which is inside our spinal cord. And then that's where the last, I say, energy or the impulses, they all absorb. This is one way, but I think it's one study that is very interesting to be done, is to make a comparative study between like the channels and the nervous system and the winds in relation to the impulses within our nervous system and the drops. I found some correlation between drops and hormones. Now, if it's right or wrong, I really don't know. It's something that I have known enough knowledge really to look at it, but I think this is something that we can understand a little bit better. Because when we start understanding all the channels is the nervous system, it gets more near to us. Otherwise, it becomes some sort of mystical thing that we don't know what it is, no? So, and when we talk about Tantra, it's really something what we are, okay? So, the way how the channels develop after, I don't know exactly. This is like the melting points, where they meet, the meeting points, where they meet together, which is so-called our chakras, okay? And the chakras is also the point where the right and the left channel, they go around. And they continue again. And what happened normally is that we use mostly the right and the left channel. Very rarely we use the central channel. We only use the central channel when we go into a deeper level of consciousness. Okay? And the right and the left channel are the channels of attraction and aversion. And we are most of the times by attraction and aversion. So what happens is that the right and the left channel, they become so strong that they end up squeezing the central channel. So energy cannot flow in the central channel. That's why it becomes more and more difficult for us to go into a deeper level of consciousness, because our energy is always related, it's mostly directed to the 5 senses. And at the same time also, because of being so familiarized to doing that way, the central channel gets blocked by the left and the right channel. Okay? We will talk more about this tomorrow in the last part of self-healing. Okay? So now, we have the 5 lotus. It's important for us to imagine that it's not just like a little drawing of a lotus that we put inside. Okay? It is our channels perfectly aligned, very nicely aligned, and the energy can flow very nicely between them. Okay? And they are there in the form of a lotus. Okay? It is said that the central channel is more or less thick like a finger. Okay? But if it makes easier for us, we can also visualize it thicker. Okay? Otherwise, it becomes very small, the lotus and everything. We can also visualize it thicker. This is possible, but it's said that the size is more or less the size of a finger.
One question. I always learn to visualize it in front of the spine, not inside.
It's supposed to be inside.
Inside.
Yes. And the central channel is inside our spine. No?
What would be the function of the spinal fluid?
I have no idea. No. It's very nice.
Transportation fluid, right? Of the energy, the impulses.
Maybe it's connected with our drops, but I don't know. That's why I thought it's really nice if we can have like a comparison study, and we go and it's not so simple because in the texts of Buddhism, all of this is taught in a way that using terms and explained in a way that it's very different by the terms and the way how it's explained in our modern medicine. So it doesn't fit so well. One person with whom I talked that a little bit about this, like talking with a Tibetan doctor that also studied a little bit of Western medicine. And because inside Tibetan medicine, it is talking about the channels. And with him, he said very clearly that the channels is the nervous system and the winds are the impulses within our nervous system. According to him, this was correct. And then about the drops, according to him also, he was saying there is some connection with hormones, but we cannot say that it is that. It's not so clear. Anyhow, now, in self-healing, what we do is that the visualization, it doesn't need to be exactly as it is in our body. For example, if we visualize the central channel stronger, in many texts says we need to visualize our central channels larger than what it is. Why? Because normally it is completely obstructed, and when we visualize it bigger, we give more strength to it. It's like if we direct the mind for it to become stronger. So we give more strength to our central channel, okay? So we visualize the central channel, and then we visualize the lotuses, and it's important, once again, for us to visualize that, imagine, feel that we are creating the right environment to develop our potential, and then the energy can flow very nicely through our channels, okay? So we do Pamle Pema Django, Pamle Pema Serpo, Pamle Pema Ngompo, Pamle Pema Marpo, and Pamle Pema Karpo. Okay? After that, we go to the next step, which is the generation of the Sid syllables. The Sid syllables are actually, as we just said before, a Sid is a potential, syllable is sound. Okay? So it is, sound is vibration, vibration is energy. So in this case, we have the sound Om, that is the essence of our pure aggregate of form. It's the essence of wisdom. It's the essence of the mirror-like wisdom fully developed. The sound A, which represents the essence, our potential to develop satisfaction, concentration, the aggregate of discrimination, the wisdom of discrimination. The Hum in the heart is the essence of Buddha Akshobhya. Actually, one very important thing in self-healing is that it's really good for us to study a little bit and understand better the meaning of the 5 Dhyani Buddhas. We need to get familiarized with them. So when I say Akshobhya, when I say it's the essence of Akshobhya, what do I mean? Love, compassion, patience, stability, aggregate of consciousness, dharma, dhatu, wisdom. Okay? So the more we understand about the 5 Dhyani Buddhas, the more we can understand about the 5 syllables, actually, the 5 Sid syllables. Because let's say, for instance, that I have a very good knowledge about an apple tree, okay? And I know the qualities of the apple tree. I know what I can do with an apple tree. I know how the apple tree is made. I know so many things about the apple tree. When I see a seed of an apple, what does that represent? A lot. If I have no idea what is an apple and I have no idea about the apple tree and I see the seed, nothing. I throw it away. Okay? So, for us to understand more deeply the meaning of the 5 Sid syllables, it's important for us to understand the meaning of the 5 Dhyani Buddhas. Okay? But at this point, the fact is that the syllables, the Sid syllables, we visualize them as a dot of light. The seed is like the size of a seed of a mustard seed. This white little mustard seed is maybe like 1 millimeter. Very small. But it's made of light. So we have a white dot of light, Om, And when we say Om, it's not that it's written inside the letter Om. Om is not right, it's a syllable. It's not written like the syllable, the Tibetan Om. It vibrates with the sound of Om. Okay? Because when we write it, it's just a symbol to represent something. I cannot put the sound in the paper. No, I need to represent it somehow. So that's why we make the syllable Om. But actually, even very often in the sadhana, we have the visualization of the 5 syllables. We imagine the Tibetan writing of the 5. But then, if we should visualize the Tibetan writing, then why we don't need to visualize the Sanskrit writing? Because originally it came from Sanskrit. Actually, the Sit syllable, it's representing a sound. That is the essence of the energy that vibrates with that sound. So we visualize a white dot of light that is infinite within it, but very small in our body, that vibrates with the sound of Om. A red dot of light on top of the lotus. If here I have the basis of the lotus, here in the middle I have the Sit syllable. And it vibrates with the sound of A red one. On the heart, there is a blue dot of light that vibrates with the sound of Hum. At the navel, there is a yellow dot of light that vibrates with the sound of Tram or vibrates with the sound of Swa. It depends on there are two different systems. One is that we have Om, Ah, Hum, Tram, Ri. And the other system is Om, Ah, Hum, Swa, Ha. Okay? Both of them are valid. It's like some teachings, some practices, the emphasis is given to Om, Ah, Hum, Tram, Ri, others to Om, Ah, Hum, Swa, Ha. Most of the times in self-healing, we do with Om, Ah, Hum, Tram, Ri. Also because to have one system that we follow most of the time the same, otherwise we create some confusion. Also because if I do Om, Ah, Hum, Swa, Ha, I need to do Hale, Natso, Dorje, Django, Ha. Not Rile, Natso, Dorje, Django, Hi. Then we start to have some confusion, okay? So normally we do with Om, Ah, Hum, Tram, Ri. But this doesn't mean that So Ha is wrong, okay? So we visualized in the navel this yellow Sit dot of light with this, that vibrates with the sound of Tram. And then in the secret chakra, we visualize this green dot of light that vibrates with the sound of Ri. It's important for us to remember that this dot of light that vibrates with the sound, it is the essence of the energy of each one of the 5 Dhyani Buddhas, which are our qualities developed at their maximum potential. So it's representing our potential. And the Sit syllable is not something that we are taking from outside and planting inside of us. There we are accessing something that is within us. Okay? It's like when we talk about the 5 wisdoms, within the wisdom of equanimity, is there the potential to develop the full wisdom of equanimity? Yes. Within the wisdom of mirror-like wisdom, is there the potential to develop the perfect mirror-like wisdom? Yes. That's the meaning of the Sit syllables. It's not something that we are taking from outside. It's something that we are developing from inside. Because if it was coming from outside, we don't need the Sit syllable. We just take Buddha Vajrayana right away. The reason why we have the lotus, then we have the Sit syllable, then we have the symbol, then we have the Buddha. It's showing what? I have a potential that I develop. I create the conditions, the lotus. I access my potential, and then it develops. It's like if the seed is there, in the moment I put the right environment for the seed grows. Okay? So, Sit syllables are very important. Lama Ganchen Rinpoche very often put a lot of emphasis in the Sit syllables because it's the essence. And for me, they are very important because they represent also our own potential. And sometimes I see we have this tendency of doing self-healing and thinking that the 5 Dhyani Buddhas need to come from outside, some sort of gods that come from outside to us. Instead, they are our own potential, our own qualities that develop. So with the 6 syllables, when we access them, we are not planting them from outside. It's not Guru Buddha that comes inside of us and goes there and put one sit at each one of our chakras. We're accessing the seeds that are already inside of us. Okay? So we have Om, Ah, Hum, Tram, Re. The mudra that we do the mudra of jointing our hands. And then we join the hands at the crown, the throat, the heart, the navel, and the secret chakra. Om, Ah, Hum, Tram, Re. Normally, when we do the Om, Ah, Hum, Tram, Re, in the end, we open the arms a little bit. Okay? This, I don't know the exact reason for it. Why is that like that? But in many practices, normally, we have what we call Tongwa Gyube Chaglen. Tongwa Gyuba means not the oral lineage, but the visual lineage. Okay? So, Rinpoche that have taught us, he does Oma Hun Tram Re like this. So we follow in the same way. There is also a tradition, a lineage of following, doing in the way that our teacher taught us, and like this we go on. Okay? Most probably there is a meaning for that, but I have never asked even Rinpoche what it is, but maybe now I can ask it, but still. We do because we are following a specific tradition, we're following a specific lineage. Okay? And if I try to find a meaning, I can find some sort of explanation, but I don't know if it's right or wrong. No? Because when we do this, I was just thinking right now, because when we do this 6 syllables, there is one part of the visualization that this is we can say the extensive visualization, that normally we don't talk much about it. That is the following. If we do quickly, we just visualize the 6 syllables. If we do with a little bit more time, at each one of the chakras, we visualize that, for example, the white Om at the crown, first we establish it, then we access it, it's there stable. Then from the white Om, light emanates. White light emanates in the 10 directions. It's like it emanates light in all the directions. And this light goes to every Buddha, to every holy being, touches their heart, making offerings to them. They all experience a sensation of great bliss. Then the lights come back and reabsorb into the Om. Once again, or at the same time, light emanates and go to each and every sentient being. And the lights, as we said yesterday, it transforms into the objects of necessity of every sentient being. So the light transforms into food for those that are hungry, company for those that are lonely, and like this we can go on and on and on, up to the moment where it transforms as teachings for those that are ready to receive the Dharma. And then it guides every sentient being to the state of enlightenment, on the path to enlightenment, up to the moment where they reach enlightenment. Then the lights come back and reabsorb into our crown chakra. Okay? We do that from each one of our 5 chakras. Okay? Normally when we do the sadhanas in Tibetan, we say, Tele öser tö, te ni che tsur du, te yonsu gyurba le. Then which means from it, light emanates. The light that emanates realizes the 2 purposes. Maybe we may read in some sadhana, it realized the 2 purposes. The 2 purposes are making offerings to all holy beings and helping to eliminate the suffering of all sentient beings. Then it reabsorbs, and when it reabsorbs, by this condition, when it reabsorbs, it transforms into the next step, which in this case, it transforms into the symbols. Okay? So, when we do the practice with a little bit more time, when we visualize, we do more time of the Om, 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 then we visualize light going from the Om to all sentient beings, eliminating their suffering, making offerings to all holy beings, coming back, reabsorbing. The same thing we do in the throat with the red Ah, on the heart with the blue Hung, on the navel with the yellow Tram, and on the secret chakra with the green Ri. When we do this emanation, we always remember that the lights that emanate, they always go with the vibration of the sound. Okay? So it's like if the sound Om expands through all the space. the sound ah expands through all the space, okay, together with the light. And so with this, we do the part of generating the seed syllables. Yeah.
When you say that the seed syllables are already there, not coming from outside, you mean Buddha nature? That is
No, it's not Buddha nature. It's, for example, when we talk about, let's say, Amitabha, okay? What is the potential of Buddha Amitabha? Is the aggregate of discernment, the wisdom of discernment that is developed into Buddha Amitabha. We have that right now. When we talk about Akshobhya, it's the aggregate of consciousness, which we do have, but it needs to be developed. That's why now it's just a seed. We create the environment, and we help the seeds to develop. That's what it's representing in the practice. That's why it emanates light, make offerings to all holy beings, help all sentient beings, reabsorb back, and that's the condition for it to develop. Yeah, we create a positive interdependence to develop these qualities. So, it's actually very important to have this understanding that what we are developing, it's our qualities. The 5 Dhyani Buddhas, what they are myself in the future. It is me with my qualities developed. That's what it's representing. Okay? So, when we talk about the potential that we have, it is where? It's our body and our mind. That's the potential that we have. Aspects of our body, aspects of our mind, that's what we will develop. For example, at the crown chakra, it represents our body, the white Om. And it represents also the mirror-like wisdom. And then like this, we can go on, okay? So, for me, it makes a big difference to see in this way. Because then we start to see, okay, I can develop my qualities. What am I doing in self-healing? I'm really, I would say, accessing my own resources, not getting something from outside, okay?
Michel?
Yeah?
I read in the commentary that the syllables come from Guru Vajrayana to chakra.
What happened is that the 6 syllables, they are within us, but what we can also visualize is that what we receive from Guru Buddha Vajradhara in front of us is the blessings. It's like what we receive is the blessings that give the conditions for us to access and to develop our own qualities. No? So, in this point, if we want to visualize that Guru Buddha in front of us, and then from his 5 chakras, there are the white Om, the red Ah, the blue Hum, and so on. That's also possible. It is like that. In Tibetan, we say Nyerlingi Gyudang. What's the name of the other? Now, it didn't come to my mind, but it's like this. When we make a vase out of clay, okay, we have 2 causes. The actual clay and the person doing the vase. Okay? Our own seed is the clay. The blessings coming from Guru Buddha is like the person doing the clay, the vase, the potter, that is giving a shape to our own quality, okay? So, we have the potential within us, and then with the blessings, we can develop it. Okay? But it's important for us to focus on our own potential that we develop. Because if we focus only on the blessing, then we can have the idea that actually I'm not accessing my potential, but it's something that is coming from outside to me. Okay? And then we can lose the idea of what actually the 5 Dhyani Buddhas are. Okay? Well, so with this we do the 6 syllables. Once again here, if we want to do retreat of self-healing, at this point we can arrive and we can do Om, 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 and we can do 1,000 Oms, 10,000 Oms, 100,000 Oms. It depends how we do the retreat while we do this visualization. Okay? So after this, we go to the next step, which is the generation of the the sit syllable, not the symbols, sorry. No? And as we do the generation of the symbols, what is a symbol? It's a representation of many qualities. And normally, the difficulty that I find nowadays is because we are not used so much with symbols anymore. We are used much more with writing. But actually, one symbol can speak much more, can say much more than 1,000 words. It's actually much more powerful when we have one image, when we have one symbol. Okay? So in the past, most of the times, instead of writing words, it was used to represent in symbols the different qualities. Okay? So the sit syllables, when the light reabsorbs back, okay, what happens is that it transforms into the symbol. The symbol is like showing the quality that is being developed but has not yet fully developed. It's like when we have a plant that is growing, it's not yet the full tree, it's not yet giving fruits, but you can already know what type of tree it will become. It's like when a child is being born. Before the child is born, maybe in the first 2-3 months, you can look at the child and you can say, okay, it's possible to know more or less how the child would be. It's possible to have some idea of it. So similar to that, when the symbol develops, it's showing our own energy that is developing, and by our own energy developing, what it will become. Okay, that's what it's representing also. So we do the mantra. Rille natso dorje jangur ri. Ri is the sit syllable. Le means from. So from ri, rille, natso dorje. Natso dorje means the double vajra, like the one that is here, the throne. Natso dorje jangu ri. Jangu means green. Ri is the sit syllable. So from ri appears a double vajra, green in color, marked by ri. When you say marked by ri, it means it vibrates with the sound of ri. Okay? Normally it's represented by a little ri written in the middle. But for me, the meaning is that it vibrates with the sound of ri. So, the double vajra is the symbol of stability. It represents when something is stable. It represents like the stability of the earth. Okay? And if we look, for example, in all the mandalas, whenever there is a mandala, I think we don't have any mandala right now here. Anyhow, whenever there is a mandala, if we look well, where there is the staircase on the 4 sides of the mandala, is exactly there is a double vajra there. Okay? So on the basis of the mandala, there is a double dorje, or a double vajra. Okay? And the double vajra is symbolizing, in this case, stability. Yeah, for example. No, something missing in this mandala. Nice mandala, but the double dorje is missing. Because normally you have where the doors, and then there you have something like this going on the 2 sides, which are symbolizing the dorje, the double vajra, okay? So, which means stability. So in our Sikhacha, one of the meanings of Amoga Siddhi is no fear, the certainty in every action, which needs stability. To know, have no doubts. One of the facts when we talk about fear, fear is connected to doubt. Okay? Maybe this happened, maybe that happened. If we have no doubts, why to have fear? If we are sure about how things are, there is no reason to have any fear. But normally when we start having many doubts, oh, maybe this can happen, and if this happened, and if that happened, oh, here and there, then we start to have doubts. And by the doubts, we have fear. Okay? For example, very often fear is connected to the fear of the unknown. We have something and we don't know what it is, we don't know how it's going to be, we lose our reference. This generates fear. So fear is connected to this unknown, and it's connected to doubt. So, the symbol of Amoghasiddhi, the double Vajra, is symbolizing stability. Okay? So what we see by that, we see that Buddha Amoghasiddhi, the quality that we are developing is the quality of certainty, the quality of stability. This is symbolized by the double Vajra. Okay? As we do this part of the practice, in between every part of the practice, normally we do the mudra of jointing our hands and receiving the blessings. And then, this is, as we said before, this is a very powerful mudra. The more we do, the better it is. Okay, it's a very good mudra. So, at this moment of the practice, for each one of the symbols, we do the mudra of each one of the 5 Dhyani Buddhas. So we start with Buddha Amoghasiddhi. So in our secret chakra appears a double Vajra, green in color, marked by Ri. Okay? We can visualize the double Vajra laying down like this, or we can visualize it upwards like that. Okay? Basically, it's the same. Okay? Most of the times we visualize like this. But it's also okay if we visualize in this way, I think. So, what's the size of this? It's inside our central channel. Everything is happening. Remember, the lotus was the size of the lotus was the size of the central channel. Then inside of it there is the sit syllable. This sit syllable transforms into the symbol. Then it remains inside the central channel. Okay? That's why it's also, if we visualize the central channel a little bit bigger, it's easier for us. Otherwise, we may feel a little bit uncomfortable. Okay? So, it transforms into the symbol. The mudra that we do is, first we do the mudra of Amoghasiddhi, which is the mudra of no fear, Mijikpe Chagya, the mudra of no fear. Then we have the mudra of Ratnasambhava, that is the mudra of supreme generosity, Chokchingi Chagya.
About Amoghasiddhi, we talk about fear and the mudra, but what about jealousy?
Jealousy and envy, which is directly connected to Amoghasiddhi also is coming from fear, especially jealousy. Because jealousy is coming from the fear of losing what we believe to possess. Okay? So I believe that I have something, and I don't want to lose that. So finally, I have aversion towards something or someone because I don't want to lose something. So this is coming from that. So in the moment that I have the certainty of what I have my singing bowl, I'm happy with my singing bowl, and I know that I have no problem with it. I have no fear of losing it, and so on. So based on that, there is no basis to have jealousy. So very often the jealousy is connected with the fear of not gaining what we expect to gain, the fear of losing what we think to have. And the crazy thing about jealousy is that we are jealous because we don't want to lose something, and jealousy, what creates distance. Okay? But when we are stable, it's okay, there is no need to be jealous. And envy is to have aversion of someone because this someone has something that I would like to have and I don't have. So it's also coming from the lack of stability of being satisfied with what I am. When we are stable, we are not comparing ourselves with others and saying, oh, he has this, I don't have, so we have envy of him. I am well with what I am. I have this fundamental stability, which is something so important. It's like when we have this stability, it's like if we are a big tree with deep roots. The wind can come, we shake, but not much. We feel the wind coming. but we don't need to change our position. So developing stability, it means also being less vulnerable to positive and to negative, in the sense that when something good happens, we don't become overexcited. And when something negative happens, we don't become totally sad and depressed and so on. No? So to develop this stability. So that's why there is the connection also with jealousy and envy in this sense also. Okay? So this is when we develop this quality of stability, which is represented by the double Vajra. And the mudra is the mudra of no fear. I have nothing to fear. And it's called Mijikpa Chagya, the mudra of no fear. At Ratna Sambhava, we do the mudra of supreme generosity. Okay? The mudra of giving. Akshobhya, we do the mudra of stability, touching the earth. The earth supposedly is the most stable thing we have. I mean supposedly, because when there is earthquakes, when we experience an earthquake and when we sit, it's like one of the most shocking things about an earthquake is because our reference of stability is the earth, and suddenly it's not stable anymore. I think it's really shocking in the sense. It's like taking away our reference. Okay? So, but generally speaking, earth is the most stable thing we have. So that's why we touch the earth. It's also representing stability. We even use the word in English, to be grounded. So to be stable. Then the mudra of Amitabha, which represents, is called the mudra of concentration, Tingye Dzingye Chagya. No, the mudra of Akshobhya is called Sanyungye Chagya, the mudra of touching the earth. Then the mudra of Amitabha is Tingye Dzingye Chagya, the mudra of concentration. And the mudra of Vajrayana is called Chunkorgye Chagya. Ch is Dharma, Kor is turn. It's the mudra of turning the Dharma wheel, of teaching the Dharma. It actually represents if we have a wheel and we are turning the wheel. Represent like doing this move, like turning the wheel. Okay? So the wheel, it represents giving the transmission. It represents passing the knowledge and the experience and the realizations. So it represents teaching the Dharma, basically. So that's why we have the mudra of turning the wheel of Buddha Vajrayana. Okay? One interesting thing about the mudras, if we see all the mudras, we always have the left hand is in the same position, and the right hand is doing the other differences. Okay? So, right hand, it represents the male part of method. The left hand represents the female part of wisdom. Okay? So when I do the mudra, the part of method represents action, represents appearance, how things appear, how I relate to things. The left part of female energy of wisdom represents the lack of inherent existence, represents the true nature of all phenomena. So it's like the right represents relative, the left represents absolute, which are actually of the same nature. So what it means also is that when we put the two hands together, in the sense that the left hand is the mudra of meditation, it represents realizing the lack of inherent existence. Okay? It represents wisdom. And the right hand during the other action, like taking away fear, generosity, stability, it represents action, that is method, great bliss. And this is also representing the quality of a Buddha. Why? One of the special qualities of a Buddha is that before we once get enlightened, we are only able to perceive or relative truth or absolute truth, which means we can understand that phenomena are interdependent. We can understand that phenomena lack inherent existence. But in the moment that I perceive the lack of inherent existence of the cup, I'm not able to see the cup anymore. I'm not talking intellectual understanding, I'm talking about perceiving. Because we are so conditioned to that phenomena appear to us as being of inherent existence, and we grasp at that inherent existence. So in the moment that I am able to see it does not exist as it appears, I'm not able to see how it exists. I'm not able to see the cup anymore. Because I'm only able to perceive the cup through the mental image that I attribute to it, and it appears to me as being of inherent existence. I'm not able to see it differently. Even if I know that it lacks inherent existence, it still appears to me as being of inherent existence. A Buddha is a person a being that is able to, at the same time, see what we call appearance or relative truth, which means can see the cup, and at the same time can perceive directly the lack of inherent existence of the cup. There is no more contradiction in between the two. A Buddha is a state of mind in which there is no anymore not only the grasping at inherent existence, there is also no more the appearance of inherent existence. So these two aspects put together, which means the realization of interdependence, which is the part of method, which is seeing their cause and conditions and the relationship between things, and giving names and seeing phenomena, and the part of the left hand, which is the part of realizing the true nature of phenomena. In our state before reaching enlightenment, it's possible before reaching enlightenment to perceive both, but only one separated from the other. We're not able to perceive both in a direct experience together. Conceptually, yes. In a direct experience, no. It's said that when we perceive the nature of phenomena, the lack of inherent existence, we are unable to perceive anything else other than the lack of inherent existence. The moment of reaching enlightenment is the moment in which the two things can go together. The direct perception of the lack of inherent existence with the direct perception of the appearance. Okay? So this is represented by the mudra also. Because we have the left hand is representing the perception of the true nature of phenomena, lack of inherent existence. The right hand is representing action, interdependence, appearance. So this, when we look at the image of a Buddha, the simple position of the hands is also representing a deep quality of the Buddha. Okay? So normally we think that the important part of the mudra is just the right hand that changes, but the left hand is also very important. Okay? So, going back to the symbols, we have Rile Natso Dorje Jangurri. From Ri appears a green double Vajra marked by Ri. Tram le norbu serpo tram. From tram le, norbu means jewel, serpo yellow, tram marked by tram. So from the 6th syllable tram appears a yellow jewel marked by tram. What is the symbol of jewel representing? Richness. Okay? Which is representing generosity, the opposite of miserliness. And the jewel, it's something that its own preciousness, its own beauty, doesn't need to be compared with others. It has its own light, it's said. It's like it has its own, we could say splendor, its own beauty. It has something which is not depending on something else. When we are sure about our own qualities, when we are well with ourselves, when we are certain of our richness, we don't need to compare with others. That's when we have humility. Because when we are always comparing ourselves, oh, he has more than me, he has less than me, and we are comparing, then we feel superior to one, we feel inferior to another. So the jewel is representing the quality of generosity, because when we give means we possess. I cannot give if I don't have. So the more I'm generous means the more I have. And humility is also directly connected with the concept of the jewel, in the sense that the humility is the state of mind in which we are not comparing with others. We are satisfied for what we are. So we don't feel superior to someone or inferior to someone else. Okay? This is also represented by the jewel. Okay? And sometimes in the drawings, the jewel has some fire around. And it means like, in one way, it's symbolizing that also in our navel chakra is where we have the tomb of fire, where we have our inner heat also. But it's also symbolizing the light. This is jewels that emanates light from it. Okay? But imagine a beautiful yellow jewel at our navel. At our heart, Hung le dorje ngompo Hung, from Hung arises a blue Vajra marked by Hung. The Vajra is this object, no? And there are different types of Vajra. Most of them is with 5 spokes or with 9 spokes. So when we have it with 5 spokes, it represents the 5 Dhyani Buddhas and the 5 Great Mothers. So it represents the union of male and female energy. Okay. At the center, there is this little round part which represents the indestructible drop. Okay. And generally speaking, the Vajra represents the enlightened mind. Okay. So the word Vajra means indestructible because literally it means diamond. So diamond from all the different stones is the strongest one. So what is indestructible? What is indivisible? The union of great bliss and emptiness within the mind of a Buddha. So it's representing the mind of the Buddha, which is always inseparable of the state of great bliss and emptiness, which is it's always indivisible of this state that realizes directly the true nature of all phenomena within a state of great bliss. So this is why we say the Vajra, why we say indestructible, indivisible. Okay? So if I visualize a blue Vajra that vibrates with the sound of Hum at our heart. At our throat, there is a red lotus flower. And again, the Vajra represents the enlightened mind, which is the aggregate of consciousness and the Dharma Dhatu wisdom, so that's very much connected to the enlightened mind also. Okay? Then we have at the throat chakra, we visualize the red lotus. The lotus flower is representing at the same time satisfaction. And how to say? The lotus, it represents something beautiful, it's said, like a flower. Okay, most people see flowers as something beautiful. Okay, so it's not that necessary everyone would see a flower beautiful, but most people would see flowers as something beautiful. And the lotus is said to be one of the most beautiful flowers in the same way. So it represents this aspect of satisfaction in which once we have the best, we don't need anything more than that. Everything is there. Okay? And the lotus is also representing when something is born in a spontaneous way and at the same time, how to say, in a pure form. That's why it's representing, for example, when you talk about being reborn in the God realms, it's that we are reborn in the lotus, which means a spontaneous birth. But the lotus is also representing renunciation, mainly. Because renunciation is this mind that goes to enlightenment and is coming out of suffering. No? We say, Dung almena nge chung me. Without suffering, there is no renunciation. So renunciation, actually the right word is the definitive emergence, which is the certainty to get out of a situation. But we only develop the certainty that I want to get out of a situation once we are in the situation. So without suffering, there is no wish to get out of suffering. Without suffering, there is no wish to get liberation. So the lotus is symbolizing that it's going out of the mud, which represents the suffering, samsara, and it has this strong impulse to get out, and it opens beautifully outside. Okay? So In the same way, in our throat chakra, we have the aspect of desire and also attachment. And on the other side, we have satisfaction. Okay? So, renunciation actually means to direct our energy, which means to direct our desire to liberation instead to mundane things. Okay? So it means also taking the same energy we have of desire. Desire by itself is nothing positive or negative. It depends where we direct it. And directing it to liberation. Okay? So it's like the energy of desire is not something that we need to eliminate. We need to direct it differently. So this is also being symbolized by the lotus that we have at our throat chakra. So we do Ale Pema Marpo A with the mudra of concentration. Then Ale means from A, Pema means lotus, Marpo is red, A is the sixth syllable, and the lotus vibrates with the sound of A. Then at our crown, we have Om Le Korlo Karpo Om. From Om arises a white Dharma wheel, a white wheel. Korlo means wheel. It's the same word that we use for chakra, actually, Korlo. Om Le Korlo Karpo Om, white marked by Om. So the Dharma wheel is basically similar to the, how to say, the wheel that in a boat, we have the steer wheel of a boat. I don't know how to call that in English. No? Which is made of normally like 8 spokes. And then there is a central part. And then there is the, I don't know how to call that in English, the part around that keeps all the spokes together. Okay? So the wheel has these 3 parts, basically. The nucleus, the essence, the spokes, and the part around that keeps all together. Okay? So this, it is actually symbolized, it symbolizes what? The essence of Buddha's teachings, which are wisdom in the center. The essence is wisdom. The spokes is concentration. Concentration is what directs wisdom. And the part around that keeps all together is morality. Morality is what keeps together the energy. Okay? If we do not have morality, which is the ability to do what we know that is positive and to abandon what we know that is negative, that's morality. Another thing is ethics, what is right and what is wrong. That's ethics, that's something else. Morality is our ability. We can have 2 people with the same amount of morality doing 2 complete different things because they have 2 different ethics. Okay? The ethics is basically what is right and what is wrong, and we can pass hours discussing about ethics. Morality is the ability to do what is good and to abandon what is bad. Okay? And this is what keeps all together. So the teachings of Buddha are all divided into these 3 parts: morality, concentration, and wisdom. Okay? In Tibetan we say denesum, and it's also translated as the 3 baskets, or the Tripitaka in the Pali, which is like all the Buddha's teachings are collected within these 3 subjects. So the wheel has different meaning. One meaning of the wheel is the turning, going from one place to the other, which means giving the teaching and the knowledge from one person to the other. The other meaning is also of the teachings of Buddha, because it represents all the 3 baskets, which means morality, concentration, and wisdom. So at the crown chakra, we have the white Dharma wheel, and from all teachings of Buddha, the most important one, the essence, is wisdom. It's showing us the correct view of reality. So that's what it's representing. The best way to represent wisdom is by Buddha's teachings, where he shows the path to develop wisdom. Okay? And the white Dharma wheel vibrates with the sound of Om. Okay, so in this way, we see the part of generating the symbols. And to understand well the symbols, in the same way that to understand well the syllables, we need to understand well the 5 Dhyani Buddhas. The better we get familiarized with the Dhyani Buddhas, the better we know their meaning, the more, how to say, friendship somehow we do with them, the better we will know the meaning of the seed. For example, when I eat an apple, and I know very well the taste of the apple, and after some time I see the seed of an apple, do I remember the taste of the apple by seeing the seed? And the shadow of the tree? Yes. So similar to that, when I get familiarized with the Dhyani Buddhas, I can understand better the meaning of the symbols and of the seed syllables. But it's important to understand that it's showing the natural process of developing something that is within us. Okay? At this part also, we can also visualize that from the symbols, light emanates, going to the 10 directions, making offerings to all Buddhas, eliminating the suffering of all sentient beings, and coming back and reabsorbing back into the symbols. And it's also possible to visualize that from the 5 chakras of Guru Buddha come the symbols that absorb into our 5 chakras also, blessing ourselves. Okay? So, in this way we conclude the part which is generating the symbols. Yes?
Symbols stable and standing still, or are they moving?
Normally we visualize them stable, in the sense that they are alive. They are not like a drawing, but they are inside the central channel. But when we say that they vibrate with the sound of Om, Ahom, Tramre, it's like they have some sort of light within them. They are made of light, and if we go very near, this light is vibrating with the sound of Om, Ahom. There is this little, if we go near, we can listen to the sound somehow. Okay? They emanate this with this vibration. Okay? After this, we go to the last part of the generation stage, which is called the generation of the Buddhas. Okay? Here there is one small detail I like to explain. It's just making one point clear, but it's not so important anyhow. When we have the names of the 5 Dhyani Buddhas, the name of Buddha Vajrayana, there has been some confusion in the past years, because when originally it arrived in the West, it was made, the transliteration of the phonetics was made into English, and it was written V-A-I. How would we read V-A-I in English? Vay. But if we look in English, V-A-I is Vay. Okay? In Sanskrit, and in the phonetics of Sanskrit in Tibetan, is written with the Pa, with the double A, the double drempo. The sound of double drempo, of double A, is A. Okay? So the name of Buddha is not Vajrayana, it's Vajrayana. Okay? Why it became Vajrayana? Because basically it was written the phonetic for English, and then after the Italians and Brazilians and the Latins, we start reading it. Maybe I don't know how it's in Holland also, but we just read in the same way, and Vajrayana became Vajrayana. Okay? Also in Holland the same. So this is the reason. Okay? We didn't have these problems with the others because more or less are similar. In Brazil, we have some difficulties with the names because, for example, in São Paulo, people are not able much to say Amogacidi. Say Amogacidi. Because the D, we read this as J. So Amogacidi. And, okay, instead of Amogacidi. But so, this is a small detail, but normally the name of Buddha, Vajrayana, not Vajrayana. Okay? So slowly I try to make this correction. Okay? Sorry? No, it doesn't make much difference. There is a very nice story, actually, of two stories similar. One story is of an old lady. There was a geshe, and he went out of his hometown when he was very young to go to study in the big monastery, which was very far away. So when he finished all his studies after maybe 25 years, he went back to see his family. And when he arrived home, his mother was very poor. And she didn't have money, and she couldn't buy things. She didn't, nothing to eat much. So she was making soup out of stone. And then she learned, someone taught her one mantra from the Tengyur. In the Tengyur, which is the collection, and the Kangyur, the collection of all Buddha's teachings, and the commentaries, the Tengyur, they are the most strange things inside. Okay? These are being translated into English, and so one day maybe you can read it, but there are most very, very strange things. So one of them, there is this mantra to transform stone into food, to cook stones. So she learned it, she had a lot of faith, and there she was doing her mantra and making her stone soup. So it happened that when her son came, he was wondering, how come you are living? What do you have to eat? And she said, oh, I make this soup. And he was amazed. He said, oh, how wonderful. So show me how you do. And she showed, and he said, oh, you are reading the mantra wrongly. The mantra is not done in that way. So to help, what he explained her the right way of doing it. He was a scholar. So he explained her the right way, how to pronounce the mantra, and so on. And he went to see someone else. He came back to his village like 1 week later, and he saw the mother much thinner. He said, what happened? Oh, the mantra is not, that the soup is not working anymore. So he understood that he created doubt in her mind. And the worst enemy of Tantra is doubt. So he understood. He said, oh, I did a mistake. The way how you were reciting the mantra is the right way. So at that point, she said, oh, okay. Then she did it the way how she was doing before, and then it worked again, because there had no more doubt about it. Then there is another story, which in India they had competitions of debate. So there are two types of competition between scholars and religions. One was of philosophical debating, another was of magical powers. No? And sometimes what would happen also if two people were doing a philosophical debate and suddenly one was about to lose, then they would start doing magical powers in between, and they had like this type of crazy competitions. And it was very, very important, because if we start a debate, it was following logics and following dialectics. Let's say I am from one school of thought, you are from a different school of thought, okay? I am Buddhist, you are Christian, or whatever. You come to make a debate with me. Or we are here, come someone to make a debate with me about some subject that is fundamental for my religion, in this case. If I lose the debate, which means I contradict myself, I need to convert to the other religion together with all my disciples and all my temples. Why? Because we follow truth. We don't follow blind faith. So if it's proven to me that my way of seeing is wrong, I must change. So in India, they had like many times happen like this, that they had debates and whole many people, they convert from one tradition to the other. And then one time there was one big debate, and the debate ended up, there was a part where they started making competition of this like sort of magical powers. And then one of these Mahasiddhas, he had the ability to, one of the techniques they had, like of competition, was to block the shadow of a bird. So the bird is flying, and then they're able, with a sort of a dagger in the floor, to keep the shadow. The bird continues to fly, but the shadow remains. Okay? That was the trick. So, and there was a mantra, which was Kili, Kili, Kali, Kali, I don't remember, whatever was the mantra. And then someone told him, oh, the way how you are doing the mantra, because there was the scholar there, and then there was the, let's say, this practitioner that knew how to do these sorts of illusions and so on. And he said, oh, you are doing the mantra with the wrong mantra. It's not Kili, Kili, it's Chili, Chili, or something like that. And then the shadow was coming, and he was doing Om Kili, Kili, and it was not working. So then he said, may it be Kili, Kili, or Chili, Chili. Chili, Chili will be. And then he did it, and it worked, because he always did it that way. So there is a lot of discussion and to talk about the pronunciation. It's more important the intention that we put, the clarity of mind that we have, and the way how we receive the transmission also, than the actual pronunciation. Okay? So if we do it Vajrayana, it won't make much difference than if we do Vajrayana. Okay? But one other nice story. connected to debating, just because then after I forget. It was so important that one time when I forgot his name, I always forget names, anyhow. He was an important scholar. And there was one very powerful, very knowledgeable non-Buddhist master. And he was doing debates and he was converting everyone. Everyone was, many Buddhist masters and monasteries were losing completely power because they were losing the debates. So he said, okay, I need to win a debate with him. But I cannot win the debate if I do not know really his philosophy well. I need to learn his philosophy well so I can debate with him, so I can know his weak points. But he was keeping very secret his philosophy. It was not like teaching openly. So this great scholar, he dressed himself as a beggar, went to the house of this great non-Buddhist master, and he asked them, I'd like to offer my services as a servant to your house. I just need food and shelter in exchange. And he was accepted. And he stayed serving the house as a servant, as a humble servant, for I think 12 years. Just serving, washing the feet, cooking, cleaning the house, doing the most humble services. And what happened is that in this house, this non-Buddhist master, his son didn't have any interest at all in the philosophy and these things. So he was looking for someone to whom he could teach. And his servant he found out that his servant was intelligent, was sensible, could understand things well, was very faithful to him. So slowly, he started to gain trust on his servant and teach him his own philosophy. Until one day he taught him the most secret aspects of his philosophy. When he finished all that, then after the 12 years, the servant went and said, look, my period here is finished. And then he went out and he said, okay, actually I'm Buddhist, and I would like to invite you for a public debate. And he won the debate because he knew all the small parts. So this is showing two things. One thing is that it's so important to know each other. Very often we find out that we are debating and criticizing each other without knowing each other. So if we want seriously to debate with someone, to discuss something, we must know it first. So we don't need to be afraid of knowing each other, of knowing other religions, of knowing other points of view. It's very important to open our mind to it. Second, we see from the story how much he was dedicated, how much it was important, really, to establish what was the truth. So he will stay there 12 years as a servant. So, this is when we talk about debate, but we explain all of this because of the pronunciation of Vajrayana. So, the way how we pronounce is not the most important thing. One time there was also one debate in India not so long ago. We're talking about maybe the 70s. And then they had a gathering between three religions: the Buddhist, the Hindu, and the Jainist. And then they start debating which were the difference between the three religions. And they saw, okay, we all believe in reincarnation, we all believe in karma. What is the main difference between us? So one Buddhist master at that time from Tibet, he explained, he said, look, I think one of the main differences is that Jainism gives emphasis to the body. So they have mainly the attitude of non-violence through the body. So it's this religion where they wear like a cloth in the mouth, not to kill insects. When they walk, they have a broom in the front to take away, not to kill any insects. They are very careful not to have any sort of violence through the body. The Hindu gives mainly emphasis to the speech. So in Hindu tradition, the recitation of the mantras must be perfect. The intonation, the pronunciation, and so on, it's very important. In Buddhism, the emphasis is given to the mind. The most important is not how you act physically or how you pronounce verbally. The most important is how you think, the attitude that you have with your mind. And they all agreed at that time with this. Okay? So this is something that it's clear in Buddhism. In Buddhism, it's more important how you do than what you do. the intention that you put than actually physically how you do. So even in the mantras, if we do the pronunciation, let's say, wrong, it's not a big deal. The most important is the intention that we put, the visualization that we make. That's more important than all. Okay? Yeah?
You just referred to the truth, and I was thinking, actually, before we said that reality, it depends on the observer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, who is your reference point? Who's the one who can determine what is truth from what point of view?
The truth is what is coherent. That's the point. It's like the truth is what is coherent between understanding and experiencing. No? And when we talk about things that are coherent, everybody accepts them. It's like, sure, we have many, many different points of view which may be correct, which may be the truth. This is like different ways of seeing the world, no? But then there are also some points of view which are contradictory and which we can debate about it. And if we are both of us open, it's said that it's very easy to debate with the wise person, it's difficult to debate with the ignorant. But if we debate with the wise and both of them want to get a conclusion that is coherent, then we get the truth. In this sense, I meant truth. No? So it's like one question that many, many religions put: which was the beginning of everything? Okay? And in Buddhism, we never put this question because we put a question before, which is was there a beginning? And because the conclusion of the question is no, then we don't put the question which was the beginning. Okay? But, for example, if we still discuss about this, or there was a beginning or there was not a beginning. So when we go discussing through it, we will follow logics, we will follow experience, and based on that we will get to a conclusion. But if two people discuss long enough with really sincerity and clarity of mind, we get to a conclusion together. No? So this is the point where we mean to find the truth. What I mean also when I said the important is the truth, is that very often what happens, sadly, is that after some time inside a religion, people do not follow anymore the certainty of a path. They have attachment to the religion to which they are part of. No? It's like my teacher in Tibet. One day he was debating with the abbot of another monastery from a different tradition called the Zhenangpa. It's a great tradition. They're very good in full core exercises of yoga. They do wonderful practice of Kala Chakra and so on. But according to the correct view of reality, they have a different way of explaining the correct view of reality, which is called Shengtong, which is called utter emptiness. Anyhow, my teacher was debating with this abbot about the correct view of reality. Was debating with him, and but citing texts of Nagarjuna that all of respect and openly debating about the subject. They were traveling together, so they have many hours in the train. And then at one point, the abbot said, again, I had a lot of respect for my teacher. He's much elder and very respected. And he said, look, Rinpoche, with all my respect, we can stay debating for the whole day. But by the end of the day, I am Zhenangpa and you are Gelugpa. So it doesn't matter what we say, I will follow what my tradition says. That's why Lama Tsongkhapa created a new tradition, because from my point of view, Lama Tsongkhapa had no intention of making a new school, a new tradition. He simply had doubts, and he had different views about different philosophical aspects, different of, by the way, how it was explained at the time, and he tried to debate and tried to talk with the people of his time, but no one was really open to change anything. Oh, because that's my tradition. So sometimes we are more attached to the belonging to a tradition, to some sort of dogma, than actually really opening ourselves to developing and understanding things better. That's what I mean by the truth. Like, I am not attached at all of being Buddhist. I follow Buddhism because for me it's the most coherent thing that I have ever found up to now. It was really makes sense for me. There are parts of Buddhist teachings that I don't understand, sure, and I put them in my waiting list. But if any moment someone shows me a path, shows me a teaching that is more coherent or that shows me that is wrong what I have believed up to now, I will change. I think this is important. So what I meant by saying to follow the truth, it means with the intention that we have is to follow what works, to follow what really brings us to the state of well-being, of happiness that eliminates suffering, more than being part of this group or being part of that group. I have this vision because I am part of this group and I have that, philosophical view, which I don't have. I just follow whatever view that someone was saying, okay? So in this sense, it's really important for us to understand and to make the views our own view. We have our own path. I think it's quite clear, no? Okay. So, just to conclude this part, we have the 5 Dhyani Buddhas. And what we will generate is that we generate the 5 Dhyani Buddhas, one at each one of our 5 chakras. The 5 Dhyani Buddhas, as we have Vajrayana, white Vajrayana at the crown, with the mudra of teaching the Dharma, red Amitabha at the throat with the mudra of meditative concentration, blue Akshobhya at the heart with the mudra of stability, touching the earth, yellow Ratnasambhava at the navel with the mudra of supreme generosity, and green Amoghasiddhi at the secret chakra with the mudra of no fear. Okay. So, as we generate the 5 Dhyani Buddhas, what we imagine is that our qualities, our potential have fully developed. Okay? So, it's like before there was the sit syllable, then it became the symbol became the Buddha. So they are fully developed. It's like we are powering up and then we got the maximum of the potential. We got the maximum power. Our qualities are fully there. And but when we imagine the 5 Dhyani Buddhas, it's not just a little drawing. It is a symbol, but at the same time, we imagine the Dhyani Buddhas there, and which is also blessing our chakras in order for us to develop our qualities. It's like the union of both our potential developed together with the blessings that we receive from Guru Buddha. The two things come together. And how to put? When we visualize Akshobhya in our heart, it's like I am full of love, full of compassion, with stability, with patience. Ratnasambhava, humility, generosity, wisdom of equanimity, pure aggregate of sensation. It's important always when we imagine the 5 Dhyani Buddhas to connect back to their meaning. Okay? Another meaning of the 5 Dhyani Buddhas is the 5 types of actions. So, Amoghasiddhi is connected to the wrathful action. Wrathful action, it means strong action, which doesn't mean violent, doesn't mean necessary. It means a strong action that sometimes is necessary. Okay? It's the most difficult type of action. Okay? Normally we start with the action of Vajrayana, which is the peaceful action of pacifying. Then after that we have the action of Ratnasambhava, which is the action of incrementing, growing, increasing. Then there is the action of Amitabha, which is the action of power, which is influencing, the action of influence. And then there is the action of Amoghasiddhi, which is the wrathful action, the strong actions. And normally, no, Akshobhya is missing. Okay, Akshobhya is the union of the 4.
Sorry?
Akshobhya is the union of the 4 together. Okay, we call Lenatsope. So Vajrayana is pacification, Ratnasambhava is increasing, Amitabha is power, and Amoghasiddhi is a strong action. Akshobhya is the union of the 4 together. Okay? At the same time, there is a connection also with the directions. So we have Amoghasiddhi north, Ratnasambhava south, Amitabha, Akshobhya east, Amitabha west, Vajrayana center. Okay, this is like according to Borobudur mandala. According to some mandalas, Akshobhya is in the east and is in the center, and Vajrayana is in the east. This can change, okay? But according to Borobudur, we have Vajrayana is in the center, then we have Akshobhya in the east, Ratnasambhava in the south, Amitabha in the west, Amoghasiddhi in the north, okay? So normally when we see the directions, we can already connect to the Dhyani Buddhas also. When we go to a temple in Asia, like in Indonesia or in Nepal or in India, in Tibet, and very often by looking at the direction where there is the symbol or the image, we know already which Dhyani Buddha is connected to. And then, for example, we have the symbols, like if we go in a stupa and you see a lotus to the west, what does that mean? Amitabha. So we can understand the meaning also of the 5 Dhyani Buddhas are present if we go in Nepal. Most of the stupas have the symbol of the 5 Dhyani Buddhas. Most of them. And they're always in the right directions that we have just said. Okay? So, and when we talk about the 4 actions, which is like normally everything that we do, it's within these 4 types of actions. So it's actually very important, the 4 actions. If we go like in Tibetan astrology, a lot is based on the 4 actions. Oh, this is a good day for pacifying action. So action of pacification is connected to Vajrayana, and is the action wherever there is any sort of conflict or difficulty, we pacify it. Action of increasing, which means something that needs to grow, create something new, okay, is Ratnasambhava. When we have the action of power, it's action of influence, to have influence on others, which is the greatest of all powers, to have the influence to change others' mind into a peaceful and positive mind. Okay? And then we have the wrathful action, or strong action. Strong action, it means when there is a situation or something that it is strong by itself, and you need another strong action in order to stop it or to overcome it. Sometimes there may be a situation where a person is not going to listen if we talk nicely, and we need to impose ourselves strongly, and by imposing strongly, it's possible at that moment for the other to listen. This doesn't mean violence, this doesn't mean anger. It means having the same type of energy. No? We could tell many stories, but now it's too long. So there are many ways, like when we talk about strong action. And the most difficult type of action is the strong action. So for beginners, the first thing that we need to do is we need to use the action of pacification. Then we go with the action of increment, increasing. Then we go with the action of power. Then we go with the wrathful action. That's the most difficult type, because otherwise we can confuse within ourselves being strong with anger. And these are 2 completely different things. Okay? And then Akshobhya, it represents the union of the 4 actions. Okay? So, when we talk about the 5 Dhyani Buddhas, when we visualize them, we should imagine that they represent all these qualities, the positive emotions, the aggregates, the wisdoms, the actions, all of them develop to the maximum potential. That's what represents each one of the 5 Dhyani Buddhas. Okay? So, actually, the more we will do the practice, the more we get acquainted with the 5 Dhyani Buddhas, with their meaning and so on, the more it becomes meaningful to visualize them. But always remember the connection between our potential and the 5 Dhyani Buddhas. Okay? It's not something that it's coming from outside. Okay? Actually, there are 2 ways how we can do the practice. We'll talk about that later. But one way is like for more, let's say, beginners, and one way more advanced. One way more for beginners is that as we do the practice, we still have an identity of being here I am a normal, being ignorant, and so on with suffering. Even though I have generated myself as Vajrasattva, still, I do not really recognize myself perfectly as it. That's why we still do purification. We receive the blessings of the Guru Buddha that the Buddhas are coming to me, because it's difficult for me to imagine just the Buddha developing inside of me. The other way is when we do the 3 transformations. We have a lot of experiences in the 3 transformations, so that from the very beginning, we are already seeing ourselves purely as a Buddha. Then it just means developing the qualities that we already have. Okay? And then in the next part, it's a little different, the way how to do the meditation according to one way or the other. Okay? But I think with this we conclude this part, which is seeing the generation stage. Yes, please.
I find it a little bit confusing now, because I always understood that in Buddha Vajrayana, every other qualities of the other Buddhas are. Maybe I misunderstood, but is it...
No, Buddha Vajrayana, when we talk about all the other qualities, it means that wisdom is the essence of all other qualities. And then when we talk about now Akshobhya being the union of the other 4, it means relating to action. So when we talk about the action, each one of them has a specific type of action, and Akshobhya, the type of Akshobhya, action of Akshobhya, is the union of the 4 actions. Buddha Vajrayana is not the union of the other Dhyani Buddhas. The one that combines all the Dhyani Buddhas is Buddha Vajradhara. Vajradhara is the union of all the 5 Dhyani Buddhas. What we can say about Vajrayana in the sense is that Vajrayana symbolizes wisdom also. And once we develop wisdom, all the other qualities comes naturally. It's like wisdom is the root of all other qualities. So once there is the true wisdom, then naturally there will be generosity, naturally there will be stability, and so on. But the point is that in order to develop wisdom, we also need to develop the other qualities also. Okay? But like the root of our suffering is ignorance. That's why we could say that the root is in Vajrayana in this sense. No? But actually, normally we say that who is the union of all the Buddhas is Buddha Vajradhara. Buddha Vajradhara is the union of all the 5 Dhyani Buddhas. Okay? Yeah?
I was thinking, is there also a practice of visualization that we do along the practice as we go from up to down and down to up? So we do something with this energy of going up and down. Can we also relate to this?
The going up and down is actually a way in which we are concentrating inside ourselves. No? As we were saying before, very often our attention is always outside of us. In this case, where we put our attention inside. That's why we call it the body mandala. We bring our attention inside. And as I just said, the energy will go from down to up and from up to down, basically because we are following the order of the body mandala. Like if we do the practice of self-healing in accordance with the external mandala, we follow a different order, like when doing Borobudur. So then we are not going anymore up and down. We are going heart, navel, throat, secret. We are going a different order, no? Which is east, south, west, north. Okay? But because we are following the body mandala, we're giving our reference is the body mandala, that's why we follow in this way. That's why we are going from up to down. And actually, it also helps a lot for me with the aspect of visualization, because if we would always start every part from the crown, for me, it would be a little bit more difficult, because I go from the crown down to the secret, and from the secret, I continue again. No? Because basically, it's being generated at the same time somehow. The 5 syllables and the 5 symbols and the 5 Buddhas, we can even meditate that they are all appearing together. But it's quite difficult to do like that, no? So that's why we need to have a sequence. So we follow the sequence of the body mandala in this sense. Any other question?
Yeah.
Yes.
If I understood, associated with the 5 Dhyani Buddhas, there are also components of our bodies that be sick.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering, in the Buddhist medicine, the
happened is like this, because each one of the Dhyani Buddhas is also connected to the chakras, and each chakra has a relation to different sicknesses also, and is connected also to a different wind, a different energy. We have the downward moving wind, the upward moving wind, the wind like fire-like wind, the all-pervasive wind, and the life-sustaining wind. So these are also related to the 5 Dhyani Buddhas. And in relation to the winds, there is also the connection to sicknesses also. Okay? This mostly is explained in the texts of Tibetan medicine, because in the text of Tibetan medicine is taken into consideration the winds, the channels, and it's also taken into consideration very much the part of the elements. So having an element connected to each chakra, there is also a relation to sickness related to that. So the concept is that once we can balance the energy related to each one of our chakras, this can help us also to cure the sicknesses related to it also. And I think also there can be also, sure we can find some correlation on the fact of different emotions relating to different sicknesses also that are related to the chakras. This connection is also there. But I really never remember exactly which are the sicknesses connected to each chakra. This is something that I never was able to keep in my mind. No. Yes. Another question? Yeah?
What's the meaning of the numbers of the petals from the lotus?
The number of the petals is the number of channels that meet in each chakra. That's why the one that is most in the navel, where most of the channels meet. Then the heart is 8 channels, the throat is 16 channels, that's why.
Because it's always a mathematical number of 8.
Yes, because actually what happens is that the channels, they start from the heart, and it's always 8 channels that start. And then from these 8 channels, they always multiply again. I think it's related to that.
If maybe it's not too long to explain, we have like several parts, no? Like lotus and generation of the 6 syllables, etc. If they have direct relation with the 5
The 5 path. We can make the relation. And the fact is that I don't think, like, there is explanations in which the 5 paths are connected to it, no? So then we divide it into 5 parts, which we have lotus, 6 syllable, symbol, Buddha, and completion stage. Okay? If we relate to that, then there is the relation that the first one is the path of accumulation, the lotus is the path of accumulation, the 6 syllable is the path of preparation, the symbol is the path of seeing, the Buddha is the path of meditation, and the completion stage is the path of no more learning. It's possible to do this, but in the meditation itself, I don't see any direct relation as we meditate in relation to the path. Because the 5 path, it is actually related to the realization of the correct view of reality. No? And then I don't know, at least maybe there is, but I don't know any correlation specific with the part of the generation stage in relation to this realization of the 5 path. I have seen sometimes this explanation in which there is this explanation where we put, okay, so the first part is the generation of the lotus is connected with the first path, which is the path of accumulation, and like this we go on. But I would not know exactly what would be the deeper meaning of this correlation. No? Okay. The 5 paths, just to explain. The 5 path is, if we take the whole path to enlightenment, is divided into 5 parts, okay, which basically are, when we developed true love towards ourselves, we enter into the first path, which is developing renunciation, which is having the total determination to be free from samsara or to reach enlightenment. This is when we enter the path. After entering the path, then there is a path of preparation, which is when we develop a correct vipassana, and which means a perfect concentration, single point and concentration with an analytical mind within it that realizes, that perceives the correct view of reality, that perceives the true nature of phenomena. Then there is the path of seeing, that is when the practitioner develops a direct experience of the true nature of reality. And then there is the path of meditation, where the practitioner continues the meditation on the path on the true nature of phenomena in order to eliminate the imprints of ignorance. And then the path of no more learning is enlightenment. Okay? So this is just the 5 paths, how it's divided. But I really have never seen any specific relation with the steps of the meditation in relation with this process. Okay? The names I have seen, but how it really works with the meditation and so on, I really don't know. Okay? Any other question? Okay. Same.
No, Michel, is it correctly that I understood that Amonkasiri was in the north?
North, yes.
And the Tanka behind it, it looks, for me, it looks like east. Maybe
Where?
there are differences in how to present the...
No. No, no. If you look, east is in the front. This is east. Okay? No, because, okay, here is another thing. There is one thing that, for us, in our culture, which one is in the one that is in the front? North, okay? In the Eastern culture is the east. That's where our reference is the sun. It's not the magnetic field. Okay? Our reference is where the sun is shining. So, for example, in Tibetan, east means in front. So, in the beginning, I was very confused because I would go and I ask, I need to go to that house to meet that monk in the monastery. And they say, okay, walk to east, turn to south. And then I was looking, where is the sun? How I can go? And I say, it has nothing to do with it. No, walk to east means go straight. Turn to south means turn left, no, turn right, actually. Okay? So for me, it was very confusing. They do like this, no? Like even, okay, I was Rinpoche's brother. Oh, where is now my house? Oh, my house is in the west of the temple. But I was looking, where is the sun? It has nothing to do with the sun. The west means the left. Okay? Because there is 2 ways of seeing the center of this planet and the center of ourself. When I am the center, the east is in front. The south is the right. The west is the back, and the north is the left. Okay? That's how if I am in the center, the east is the front, south is on the right side, west is in the back, and north is in the left. Okay? For example, when making the altar, it's always said, put the altar in the east. There are 2 ways of reading this. One is the actual east side, and which is the east of the planet or my east? Okay? Because if it's my east, which means the altar should always be in front. The altar shouldn't be on your right side, on your left side, or behind you. The altar should be in front of you. You sit looking to the altar. That's why the altar is in your east. Okay? So, this is like, very often we use the same words, but they have different meanings in this way. Okay? Yes?
Until the 18th century, there were in Holland very famous people who made cards of the land, of the country. And it was quite normal in those days to sit at the seaside. So when you look at such a map, the north is at your right-hand side of the drawing of the map.
It's the reference that you follow, no?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
when we do our practice, the reference is myself. So I am the center, so east is in the front. Okay? This is a difference, just to conclude this part, but there is a difference between our Western view, have more the view of to seeing the world. The Eastern view is more my world. The world is objective, my world is subjective. Where is east? Which east? Your east or my east? Okay? So, in our Western culture, we are much more into objective things. So East is East, the world is the world. In the Eastern culture, it's more like subjective way of seeing everything. So your world or my world, it depends like how to see things, it's different. No? Okay, there was a question still?
Yeah.
Okay.
I try to imagine how the channels come into the chakra.
Okay.
Understood. Where,
I believe personally that in the central channel, there are points where actually the chakras, they meet. Imagine like, how to say, if this is the central channel, then the channels, they meet together like a junction. So there is even one meditation, which is very nice to do, actually important meditation to do. I didn't explain it before. Maybe I explain it a little bit more in details in the next session, together with the other meditation, which is called the line of the nose. And then it's a meditation where we train to see our channels, because when we visualize normally, our tendency is to visualize the chakras and everything as if we were looking in the mirror. Or we try to put like here, it's here, no? Like looking like this, okay? One of the ways how it's good to visualize is not that it's the only way, but one way is that we visualize that the mind is looking from inside to outside. So there is a training that we can do in which we train to travel inside our channels. So we imagine entering from the central channel, going down. When we got up, we look from up to down. We see the other channels of the chakras going in. And then we go down. Then I reach at the throat chakra. I look around. I see 16 entrances. Okay? Which are the other 16 channels going. Then I go down again and I arrive in the heart. And then I look around and I see 8 entrances. Okay? Then I can go down. Then there's the navel, 64 entrances. Then I look up and I see again. Then I can go down to the secret chakra. Then I see below the navel there is the entrance of the right channel, left channel coming in. Then down there is the secret chakra. And then I go up again to travel inside the central channel, to visualize ourselves from in to out. It's more difficult because we are not used to it, basically. That's all. But it's said that it's a very powerful way of visualizing, that when we visualize the 5 Dhyani Buddhas and the symbols and so on, we visualize that we are in there. So everything becomes big because we are inside. It's not like visualizing from outside. We visualize everything from inside. So when there is the lotus, I am inside the lotus. I can see the lotus being generated. And then there is the next lotus. Then there is the sixth syllable, which is looking outside from the body. It's very small. When I go inside, it's very big. So there is one book which I really liked very much, which was written by Lama Yeshe, which is called in English, The Bliss of Inner Fire. I think that's the name in English. The Bliss of Inner Fire by Lama Yeshe. And this book is teaching about Tummo meditation, how to generate inner fire. And in this book, he describes this meditation in very many details, very well. This meditation of visualizing the channels and going within it and so on, okay? So this is one way how to get more familiarity with our channels. Instead of looking for us from outside, if we try to visualize ourselves from inside. So we just sit, visualize the channels, and then we imagine like traveling inside. Okay? And we can even imagine together with the breath. As we breathe in, and there we go, and then we look down, and then we go down. We remain a little bit in the navel, then we go up again. Okay?
And is the chakra, is it only the place where the channels enter the central channel, or is there something in the central?
I believe that it's the channel, and then it's where you have like, if you are inside, you look, you see the holes, like many tunnels where it goes. I believe it's more like that. No?
It can close because of the...
What happens is that the left and the right channel, basically they make the knots, so that the energy cannot flow. And the channels, they can mix up together like this also. So it's not like if the channels are like this, the energy can flow. If they start going one on top of the other, or if there is no much energy for a long time flowing on a channel, it can become flat also. So energy is not be possible anymore to flow through it. Normally the description that is given is that the left and the right channel are too much used, so they close up the central channel. So by meditating that we bring the wind inside the central channel, slowly, slowly, it's like forcing the central channels to, that it will lose the left and the right channel using as less energy there, which means we take away the energy of attraction and aversion. So we loosen the less energy on the right and the left channel, and then we put, by directing the winds, the energy within the central channel, then it's like if it was blocked, and then slowly, slowly, it opens, it unblocks the knots in the central channel. Because it's not a complete knot, it's just going around, but because it's too strong, it blocks the energy. Okay? So it strangles it, yeah. Or the opposite way. The right is male, the left is female. Okay? And the left hand, female, means wisdom. So wisdom is the correct view of reality. It's the mind that realizes, that understands the true nature of phenomenon, of everything. So this is symbolized by the left hand. The right hand is showing action. It's showing method. It's showing, we can also call it appearance, but let's say it's showing action. It's showing the part of love, of compassion, of method. So this is his two aspects that a Buddha have together. And during a person that is a practitioner that is before reaching enlightenment, it's like we are not able to realize at the same time the lack of inherent existence, which is wisdom, and at the same time to see and give names and perceive things at the same time. So the fact of the two hands doing the movement together, it symbolizes the union of these two aspects. Okay, which means a quality of a Buddha, basically. Yeah, the father is on our right side, the mother is on the left. Male energy is on the right, female is on the left. And here it continues the same. The only place where it inverts is the channels. The channels are the opposite. The right channel is for the female energy and the left channel is for the male energy. The channels are inverted. Otherwise, it's always right side male, left side female. Okay? So I would say we make a break for dinner. And then when we come back, I will explain one thing, which is a meditation that I like very much. That I say now so that I remember after. Because it's not inside the practice of self-healing, but it's part of the generation stage, which is called the nose line. Nose line. The line in the nose, the line of the nose. Natik in Tibetan. Okay? Which is a very nice practice. Jetson lame kotse rapten chin namkar tinle chochur gep tempe dreme sasumgi drove munse tato ne gyurchi nimo dele tsendele nime kuyan delekshin ninsen takto delekpe koncho sumge jinge lo koncho sumge ngot koncho sumge trashisho. At dawn or dusk, at night or midday, may the three jewels grant us their blessings. May they help us to achieve all realizations and sprinkle the path of our lives with various signs of auspiciousness.